everybody. It's Sam Jacobs. Welcome to Friday. I hope it's a great Friday. I think it's a Friday in September, so I hope the weather's good. If you'll notice, I'm always focused on the weather, and that's because it's a common thing that we can all talk about that is not politics or something else that gets people excited or upset. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is we're here for Friday Fundamentals. It's that short 5 to 10 minute format where we're going to ask one or two questions to this week's guest. This week's guest is Ryan Lallier. He's the Director of Enterprise Sales at Inside Squared, longtime VP of Sales at a bunch of different companies, including Dataminer, YayPay, and Jibe. And we've got him back on the show to talk about top strategies for generating a meeting, for getting a meeting. Now, before we do that, we want to tell you who puts the food on our table, who buys us the toilet paper. It's outreach. Outreach triples the productivity of sales teams and empowers them to drive predictable and measurable revenue growth. By prioritizing the right activities and scaling customer engagement with intelligent automation, not dumb automation, outreach makes customer-facing teams more effective and improves visibility into what really drives results. Ryan, welcome back to the show.
Sam, thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Thank you. How has it been the last 4 days since we've spoken?
It's been turbulent and smooth at times.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. The question we have for you today, and I'm leading the witness because I listened to one of your Dumb Luck User podcast episodes and it really resonated, and I use this strategy. But give me one or two non-scalable ways of generating meeting that are highly personalized that really, really work.
Yep. So the big one for me is something that I used to, or a technique that I used to deploy years ago. And it was it still is, but back then when you would cold call, everyone got a gatekeeper, right? There was no like going in Zoom info and getting the person's direct number or their cell phone and sending them a text or calling them while they're at their kids' soccer practice. This was you call, you ask for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and you get a gatekeeper. And I'd ask to leave a voicemail. I'd leave a voicemail. It would go into dead zone. I'd never hear from anybody. So I had this manager come over to me and goes, have you ever just tried sending a handwritten letter to the person that you're trying to get a meeting with? And I said, actually, no, I haven't. That's a great idea. And I asked for permission to kind of one-up him. And he's like, yeah, sure. What? I'm like, can I put this in a FedEx letter so that I can basically bypass the gatekeeper and ensure that my letter is dropped on his or her desk? He's like, well, that's a great idea, but it's also very expensive. Let's see if we can test it out, and then if it works, I'll try to get more budget for it. So of course it works. I mean, when you get a FedEx letter, whether it's at home or at your business, I think your natural instinct is to say this must be pretty serious. There's either like a contract in here, a check, a lease. Yeah, a lease. I mean, I don't know, like photos. I have no idea, but there's definitely something. There's definitely something really important in this. So of course,
I sent you photos of myself via FedEx the other day.
Oh God! So some of the tracking information. That's why you asked for my apartment, and I gave you the wrong apartment number. So that perfect.
Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think there's just a certain level of importance that when that letter arrives on your desk, you open it. And every executive that is an executive right now, at one point, was either a new person in their company, just starting off in the career. Many CEOs held a sales position or a marketing role at some point. They carried a bag, so he or she understands the business that you're in and you're conducting. And I think writing that personalized letter, whether it be on your company letterhead, which is a great thing to do to promote your brand, attaching your business card and asking for someone's time is great. And then when you call back and you ask for that person's time on the phone, you have a a higher chance of getting through the gatekeeper that time around than you did the first time around.
That's a great, and I've done that in the past, and it works. Just so you know, if you're out there listening. Yeah. And I know that it quote unquote sounds expensive, but you got to measure it against the value of a meeting. You have to understand what is your cost of acquisition, and then what is the value of the customer, and you can break it down by the value of an average deal, the value of an average discovery meeting, the value of an average meeting, and typically the value of an average meeting is going to be well north of the $20 it cost you or the $30 it cost you to FedEx a letter. So. Okay. And then you got one more that you said has been working really, really well recently.
Yeah. I thought about this since you and I talked about this a long time ago. And it's more it feels like it should be more of like something that marketing people do, but I really like when salespeople do it. So I like taking a book, for example, like take a book, and I'll give you a deeper example of how I kind of put this into practice recently with a guest that I had on for my podcast. But take a book and don't just send the book. Say, hey, I got you this book, enjoy reading it. Read the book and put little miniature sticky notes on pages or chapters within the book that you think your buyer persona would get the most value from. So look, I know this is a 250-page book. I know you're busy. So I picked out 2 or 3 chapters in this book that I think you can apply to your role today, and that'll help you achieve greater success than you've already achieved to date, whatever the message is going to be. And just send the book and then follow up. Hey, did you get the book? Did you read the book? Maybe you do it through email or you do it through phone. But I think it's a nice gesture coming from a salesperson versus from like a marketing technique. Nothing against marketers out there. I love the marketers. But man, if I'm a salesperson trying to get someone's time and I want to earn Sam's respect, like why wouldn't I send him a book that I think is relevant to what he's trying to accomplish and demonstrate that not only am I sending you this book, I picked out a couple of things based on what I know about you from the internet that you might find value in this. So I like doing that as well. So both techniques involve mailing something, but I think the conversion rates are pretty high, as you just demonstrated.
Yeah, it all comes down to empathy. It all comes down to you have to spend a few minutes and do your meditation and put yourself in someone else's body and brain and think about what are they doing every day and what is the best way to show that you care about them and that you're thinking about them, not yourself.
Yep.
And, to the point, putting those little stickies is like an incredible way to say, hey, I thought this might be useful for you. Little cheat code for this book.
Yep.
Ryan, it's been great having you on the show. Remind us what your email address is if folks want to reach out to you.
Sure. RyanLallier@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Ryan's also on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to. It's linkedin.com/Sam F. Jacobs. Thanks so much to Outreach for sponsoring Friday Fundamentals. If you haven't rated the Sales Hacker podcast on iTunes, please give us 5 stars. And folks, I'll talk to you next time. Ryan, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Sam. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.